Hello homebrewers, and welcome to Homebrew Wild and Cheap. So, I decided that it would be a bit of fun for me to make some coffee liqueur. That's what I'm going to do. So I have done it in the past, but I've done it differently. I started off with spirit bases and, did all that stuff using the sugar wine to make the concentrate, kind of like rum, vodka-y thing, and then doing it back and making it into a coffee liqueur. It was very, very tasty, don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of effort. So I'm going to try and make it simpler, a lot simpler. So for my coffee liqueur recipe, what I'm going to be doing is breaking it down into two parts. So the first part is this part. This is the basically the basic fermentation process that we're going to do to make our base for the coffee liqueur. So what you're going to need is roughly 250 grams of coffee. This isn't Costa coffee, it's just a Costa tin with random coffee in it. It just happens to be 250 grams. If you go and buy a normal bag of coffee, normally they're about 230 grams-ish. It's not going to make a difference, just buy the smaller bag. Then I'm going to be using a kilo of sugar. This has been measured out, just slightly over a kilo, but I'm lazy, so I don't need to show you how to do that. You can measure out a kilo or just buy a kilo bag, which should, in a 5 litre container, make it about 11%. In a 1 gallon container, UK gallon, it should be about 12%. About right, yeah. The other things we're going to need are very simply some yeast nutrient, because we're just basically brewing sugar with a coffee flavouring. And we're also going to need a neutral yeast. I'm going to be using the Express Yeast Wine Compound. Which is from Wilkinson's. It was £1. Good for all the jobs. And I'm going to be using my demijohns, funny enough, once I've sterilised them. So always sterilise. So I'm going to get set up and we're going to get started. So the first part of this is really quite easy, as long as you can wait. That's pretty much what you've got to do. So I've got my 250 grams of coffee, looking lovely, and I've got my big pan as normal. In goes the coffee. Smells good actually. Smells exactly like coffee. 250 grams of coffee. Then I've got my boiled water, which is, I believe, it's 1.5 litres. And I'm going to add in 2 kettles worth, so 3 litres in total. And then I'm just going to let this steep and cool down. Now you can simmer it, but you get a really kind of bitter taste, I find, with coffee if you basically cook it too much. Funny that, almost as if. So just going to top the kettle up and do it again. Kettle number 2. Right, it's just off the boil. It's just personal preference, mainly because the coffee tastes nicer, I find, if you haven't scorched it. It already has got this nice cream on it, so basically I'm just going to let this go cold. I'm not going to add the sugar in to this lovely piping hot coffee brew, because I'm going to have to filter out the coffee grounds, as you've seen in the mixed fruit berry wine at my ceiling. Lol. So I'm not going to add in any of the nutrients or any of the yeast, anything like that. It's way too hot. All the sugar and the grounds, when I'm filtering it, it's just going to make a really sticky mess. Everything's now been added in, and yeah, we've basically got 3 litres of coffee with a cream on it. Hopefully you can see that just. Now we're just going to let it go cold. I'm not going to add the sugar in, mainly because I'm going to be filtering this in a bit, and it's going to be, funny enough, with a kilo of sugar and 3 litres of coffee, basically, it's going to get quite sticky. So I'm just going to put the lid on, and I'll see you in a couple of hours. If you want, you could do this in the morning, have it all set up, pour it on, and then by the time you get home from work in the afternoon or evening, depending on when that is, it'll be nice and cold and ready for the next part. So just to bear in mind. So I'm going to put the lid on, and I will see you in a few hours. Right, so it is a few hours later, as in the next day, because work gets in the way of stuff. So this is now cooled down, and it's time to put it in our demijohn. But we still have the kilo, or just over a kilo of sugar. So I'm going to do it the easiest way possible, just to prove you can. And that is to, mix it up in the bottle with the sugar. Takes a little bit longer, but So all the sugar is now inside the bottle, looking good. takes up a fair amount of room, a kilo, or just over a kilo, roughly measured, of sugar. So yeah, now we're now going to filter the coffee, and I'm not going to use anything fancy. I'm just going to use simple strainer. It's the best thing for coffee. It's the quickest way to filter it, hopefully. Now I've got to do this with 2 hands. Awesome, 2 hands, and I need 3. Yeah, pick it up like that. There we go, that'll work. There we go. So that's pretty good. Managed to work it without it falling over. And there's coffee grounds in there now, so there we go. And by the power of YouTube, everything has been cleared away, including all that stuff. And everything's been set up. If only all my life was like this. So, basically, we have now put the sugar and the coffee in here. So before we shake it up to mix in the sugar, we're going to add the yeast nutrient, which fortunately, because there is only just over a kilo, I only need 1 teaspoon of, approximately. Oh god, big spoon. There we go, roughly. Slightly more, not really going to matter. And then again, with 1 teaspoon of the express wine yeast compound, just because it happens to be on hand and gives a neutral flavour. So again, just chuck in 1 of them. And we will add some water in a minute. This is just water in the kettle, not boiled water. Straight from my tap. If you live in a hard water area, you may want filtered water. So yeah, let's just mix the sugar in. Almost looks like beer. Not done yet. Right, and that is somewhere about mixed. So now we're just going to top it up with me water, cold water. In theory, it shouldn't foam too much. There. Right, so it's later in the evening, and I was going over the footage, and you know what? I didn't take a hydrometer reading. I just sort of went rough brew maths and went, oh yeah, it's going to be roughly about this. So I thought I'd actually check it with a hydrometer. So I have sterilised the hydrometer. This is my pot, so here we go. Let's pop it in. And let's see what it says. So it is 107. Ooh. 1072, flip it round, is about 11.5%. So, not bad, you know, I was in the right area, good for me, and it hasn't finished fermenting yet. It may ferment slightly sweet, who knows. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll catch you for part 2. So don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, and of course comment. I like it. So, see you in the next one.